You know that classic joke, right, about heaven and hell and the
Oh,
stereotype?
yeah. Heaven is where the police are British, the cook's French.
That one. Exactly. Mechanics German, lovers Italian, all organized by the Swiss.
And hell is basically the opposite setup, right? Police German, cook's English.
Mechanics French, lovers Swiss, organized by the Italians. It's funny, yeah. But it kind of perfectly captures how we often think about different nationalities, these, well, stereotypes.
Mhm. And what's really compelling, I think, is how these jokes, these sort of playful ideas,
Hmm.
often tap into perceptions that, well, maybe have some basis in real experiences people have had.
Right.
So today, we're going beyond the punchline. We're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating study that actually tried to quantify these perceptions, specifically for tourists.
Okay, interesting. So, like, who's the best and worst tourist? That kind of thing.
Pretty much, our mission is to unpack this survey that ranked nationalities based on how tourists behave
Hmm.
and how they're perceived by, the people actually working in tourism.
Folks on the ground.
Exactly. And get ready, because there are some genuinely surprising findings here, insights that might make you think differently about your next trip, or even just interacting with people from different places.
I'm intrigued. So, what's the source? Where did this study come from?
So we're looking at an Ipsos survey. It was commissioned by the American Board of Tourism Professionals.
Ipsos. Okay. They're pretty well known for surveys.
They are. And they really cast a wide net here. They talked to hotel staff, restaurant servers, airline crews, tour guides, across different continents too. So it's a pretty broad picture.
Gotcha. A global snapshot. So, what was the headline finding? The big reveal.
Okay, get this. The main takeaway, the really striking finding, was that Brazilians were overwhelmingly rated the best tourists.
Brazilians. Okay. Who is at the other end?
Germans, they were rated the worst.
Germans. Wow. Okay, that is interesting because you might think, efficient, organized.
Right. It challenges some common ideas straight away,
Hmm.
which raises the question, what stereotype do you think that immediately busts?
Well, like I said, the efficiency thing, you'd maybe expect Germans to be easy travelers in that sense. But rated worst. Huh. So let's dig in. Why Brazilians? What made them shine?
The survey pointed to a few key things. First off, they were voted best for tips.
Always appreciated in the service industry.
Definitely. And they also scored highly for speaking English well, which, just makes interaction smoother.
Sure, avoids misunderstandings.
Exactly. Plus, they were praised for cultural sensitivity and just generally being polite.
So, overall, good vibes from them.
Totally. There was even this specific comment about how hotel staff felt they helped ensure job security because they rarely complained and tipped decently.
That's quite an endorsement.
And get this, airline flight attendants apparently unanimously called Brazilians friendly and polite. You don't often see unanimous praise like that.
No, you really don't. That's impressive consistency. It suggests it's not just a few isolated good experiences.
Precisely. It's a pattern. Okay, so that's the sunny side, Brazilians getting top marks.
But yeah, there's always the other side. The Germans. What landed them at the bottom? What were the specific complaints?
Well, the feedback was pretty blunt, actually. A manager from a hotel chain in New Orleans put it like this: the Germans just don't seem to get it.
Ouch.
Yeah. Described them as cold and impolite, or expecting service with a smile, but not really giving much warmth back.
Okay. A mismatch in expectations, maybe.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
This manager also said Germans travel outside Germany, yet want to have things just like at home. And, crucially for service staff, never tip.
The tipping again. That seems like a recurring theme.
It really does. And then there was this anecdote from someone at Chicago O'Hare Airport
Oh.
complaining that Germans would answer you back in French, which is odd.
A bit passive-aggressive. Or just confusing.
Who knows? But also that they smoke too much everywhere where it's allowed and were generally messy, leaving cigarette butts and trash around, called it unbearable.
Yikes. So it's not just tipping, it's a whole cluster of behaviors being perceived negatively, wanting things like home, perceived impoliteness, messiness.
Exactly. It paints a very different picture from the Brazilians.
So if I'm, say, a German tourist hearing this, it sounds like my default cultural setting, maybe being direct, valuing consistency, might be rubbing people the wrong way abroad, especially on tipping.
That's a great way to put it. And yeah, tipping isn't just about the money, right? It's often a cultural signal of appreciation. If the local norm expects it and it doesn't happen, it reads as unaware or worse, dismissive.
Makes sense.
But here's another layer. The survey also highlighted the Japanese, They weren't top overall like Brazilians, but they stood out in one specific area.
Which was?
Tipping. They were called the best tippers.
Interesting. So different reasons driving the behavior compared to Brazilians, perhaps.
Exactly. A travel agent explained it through the cultural concept of losing face.
Ah, okay. So avoiding embarrassment or dishonor.
Precisely. This person suggested the Japanese are very concerned about not losing face, so they do what we think is expected of them.
So politeness and good tipping are driven by wanting to meet expectations and avoid cultural missteps.
That was the interpretation offered, yeah. It makes them usually extremely polite and scores them very high on cultural sensitivity. It just shows how different cultural motivations can lead to similar positive perceptions from service staff, like good tipping or politeness.
That's fascinating. So it's not just good or bad tourists, but why people behave the way they do, rooted in their culture. The German directness might seem cold. The Japanese focus on face leads to politeness.
You've got it. It's about that clash or harmony between your cultural norms and the norms of the place you're visiting. Understanding that difference is key.
So did the survey break things down even further beyond just overall best worst?
Oh yeah, it went into specific categories, which gives us a much more detailed view, helps us see what specific behaviors build up those overall reputations.
Okay, let's hear some of those. Like who ranked top for friendliness?
All right, for friendliest nationalities, the top 5 were Brazilians, Japanese, Koreans, Canadians, and Portuguese.
Okay, Brazilians and Japanese up there again. Interesting mix. What about politeness?
Most polite, number 1, Brazilians again, then Japanese, British, Spanish, and Koreans.
Brits making the polite list, maybe less surprising than some others. How about language? Willingness to speak English.
Good question. Top for willingness to understand and speak English was, guess who?
Brazilians.
Yep. Followed by the Dutch, Swiss, Hungarians, and Poles.
Dutch and Swiss, often noted for strong English skills, makes sense. And finally, cultural sensitivity.
Most culturally sensitive. Brazilians and Japanese led again, then Romanians, Egyptians, and Koreans rounding out the top 5.
Wow. So Brazilians really dominate across friendliness, politeness, English use, and cultural sensitivity. And the Japanese are right there with them on friendliness, politeness, and sensitivity.
Exactly. You see clear patterns. Certain nationalities just kept appearing high up in these positive areas, which really explains why they get those overall positive perceptions.
It really does paint a picture. So, okay, we've looked at the data, the rankings, the reasons. What's the takeaway for someone listening? Whether they travel a lot or just interact with diverse people day to day, what does this mean for you?
Well, I think it highlights how much these specific actions, tipping, trying the language, how you react to different customs, really feed into those bigger national stereotypes, For better or worse.
Right, the small things add up.
Totally. And understanding that can give you those aha moments. Like, oh, that's why that interaction felt a bit off. Or, okay, I see why they appreciated that. It's about recognizing how deep cultural programming influences behavior.
Like the German desire for things to be like home or the Japanese concern about face.
Exactly. Those aren't trivial things. They shape interactions profoundly. So this survey gives you a kind of framework, not for judging, but for understanding the why behind people's actions from their cultural point of view. It's about perspective.
Definitely a lot to think about there. So just to recap, we saw Brazilians really stand out positively across the board. Politeness, sensitivity, tipping, friendliness.
Clear winners in this survey.
And on the flip side, German tourists faced criticism, specifically around perceived coldness, wanting familiarity, and especially tipping habits.
Yeah, areas where cultural differences seem to cause friction.
And we also touched on that fascinating nuance with Japanese tourists, where the cultural value of not losing face drives behavior seen as very positive, like politeness and excellent tipping. It shows the complexity behind it all.
Absolutely. It's not simple.
Oh,
Which leads to, I guess, a final thought to leave people with.
go for it.
Thinking about all this, how aware are you personally of your own behavior when you travel? How might your actions, consciously or unconsciously, be reinforcing or maybe even challenging some of these stereotypes about your own nationality?
That's a challenging question. Makes you reflect.
Right. And beyond travel, what role do these wider stereotypes play in our everyday lives? And maybe what responsibility do we have to understand them better, not just as jokes, but as these complex reflections of how cultures interact?
Definitely something to chew on. Food for thought until our next deep dive.